everyone, it's Envious Games here, and welcome back to another video where this is probably the most requested topic on my channel so far. If you haven't read the title already, this is going to be the 2022 setup tour video, and I've been procrastinating doing this for a long time just because it takes so much effort to do. So, if you are brand new to the channel, please do leave a like and subscribe, join my Discord, and follow my socials. All of that is going to be in the description below, and apart from that, let's just get right into the video. So, since the last video, I had my old PC. I have since gotten an upgrade, and the old one is over there right now. I'm using it as a secondary PC at the moment. So my main one is actually a pre-built. I bought it as a pre-built, and it's got some pretty good specs in it. It's not top of the line, it's not a starter PC like the other one was. And which, by the way, if you have seen my other content and you are a content creator, that old PC, which was a starter midline gaming PC, is pretty much all you need to get started. And I'm not gonna be one of those YouTubers that does a setup tour video and is not like trying to remind everyone how broke they are, which, by the way, most of this stuff is like way overkill. To give an example, my main PC has 3 monitors. You don't need 3 monitors. It's just not necessary. Back to the specs. The pre-built PC is a PowerSpec G361, and the specs are: I have an ASRock Z590M Phantom Gaming 4 system board. For graphics card, I'm using the GeForce RTX 3060 Ti. I have 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, as well as a 4 terabyte drive and another 2 terabyte drive. So the way I use these drives is a little interesting. So the 1 terabyte SSD is just pretty much basic stuff, like, you know, for system or for base applications. Like, for example, that's what I have, like, Discord on, or those type of apps on. So the 4 terabyte drive and the 2 terabyte drive are the exact same kind of drive, but they have different space allocations for them. So for the 2 terabyte, I would usually put videos that are in progress, or that I am making, on that before I schedule them on YouTube. And then for the 4 terabyte, that's where I would put all my games and stuff on. As for a processor, I am using an Intel Core i9, which, by the way, if you are a content creator and you are trying to pump out things as fast as possible, like I used to be doing daily content, except I didn't have the time to do that. By the way, if you are new to the channel, I am putting out videos 2 times a week on Tuesday and a Thursday of every week, with an occasional stream on the weekends. But if you are a content creator on your own, or you are using your PC recreationally or producing videos, I would recommend that you get the best possible processor that you can get. I know this one is a little ways down from the top of the line that you can get, but it works tremendously for what I'm using the PC for. My old PC used to take, like, these aren't going to be real numbers, but if I say a video took, I don't know, an hour to process, this one would half that time. It would take 30 minutes. So definitely a worthy upgrade that I would definitely recommend going for. Even if you're just upgrading your current PC's processor, I would definitely go for that above all. As for my secondary PC, that was a custom build, and that was also a starter gaming PC. And that got worn out over the years, I must say, and that one's over there. I actually introduced the specs for that PC in the last video, but I'm gonna go over it again. So on this PC, I have an AMD FX 6300 6-core, which an AMD processor is not something typically seen in a PC just because the Intel i9s are better. If you are using it just as a storage PC, then that's definitely good enough. Or if you're doing that just as like a whatever side PC, an AMD processor would probably be the way to go if you're not putting a lot of strain on it. In that PC, I have a 1 terabyte SSD as well as a 1 terabyte hard drive. The hard drive, I can't say that there's a lot going on in there right now. The SSD is, again, used for just base system files, Discord, and all that. Not that I use that PC for anything much anymore. And then I also have a 4 terabyte external drive that I'm also running on that PC. That will pretty much be used for pretty much long time video storage, because I do store the raw footage and finished footage of pretty much every worthy video that I produce on my channel, just so I have it archived. And I get 4 terabytes is going to last me a while, but I know it's not going to last me forever. So at some point I do plan on allocating more space in that PC, and it does have drive bays to do that. So I should be able to do that at some point, but if you are, again, a YouTube creator or all of that, I would recommend storing pretty much all of your work, or all of your hardest work at least, on a side PC or on an external drive or something like that. The way I transfer these files is I have a Dropbox account up, so I have a 100 gigabyte Dropbox account that I run from this main PC to that other PC. And I pretty much share the files from there, copy them, put them onto that PC, onto the said 1 terabyte hard drive or the 4 terabyte external drive, depending on how much space I have at any given time. And that's sort of the most efficient way that I've found to do it. I don't know if there's any other efficient way to do it, because I've, again, only been on YouTube for about a year, and I'm still learning this kind of thing. So aside from specs, as I said, I have 3 monitors on this main screen. You don't need 3 monitors. There are very popular content creators that only use 2. But I will say, once you have more than 1 monitor, it's a little bit of a blessing and a curse, because it's hard to go back to just 1. But now I've just completely blown that out of the water by using 3. But the ones that I use for my main screen, I use Acer K272HL screen. And that is what my main screen is on. That is what my video is on. That is what pretty much the main thing I'm doing if it's the game. Right now, since I'm recording this video, it's just my recording software, just because obviously this isn't a gaming video. And as far as actual hardware goes, this mic, which is probably the biggest upgrade ever, but aside from my PC, is an Audio-Technica AT2020, which is definitely a step up from the LCS USB audio that I was using before this one. It was a little bit more of a price tag, but it's definitely worth it as far as content creation goes. I'm also running this mic through a preamp, which is ArtTube MP Studio V3 preamp, and that one you can pretty much change the mic warmth setting, ons, input and output dials, all of that in simple terms. But if you are setting it up on your own, you have to run this mic through a preamp unless your PC is compatible with an XLR. So how this mic works is it runs through an XLR cable, which is not like a 3.5 or a 1/4 inch audio jack that you would typically see in audio equipment. So this is pretty much, so I have this mic running under my desk to a preamp that is on top of my PC. It goes into the preamp, and then it can feed through that to my PC. That will lead it to be able to increase the warmth settings of the mic, which that's a little hard to explain, but I'm not going to get too into the specific. Now for the visual part of things. I'm using a Logitech Brio for a camera. Same as last time, it's still a pretty good webcam that I'm using. I'm not using a real camera quite yet, just because it's always in the corner of my screen whenever I'm doing a gaming video. Or whenever I'm doing this, which is not all too often. It's not too necessary to get too much of an upgrade. If I get more popular, then I will possibly get a better camera for that, in which that'll probably be in the 2023 setup tour video, unless I do another one later this year. But ultimately, I'm gonna plan on doing these videos pretty much every year. And what's good about this camera is it's got a driver called Logitech G Hub, which you can pretty much use to adjust your camera on the fly. I'll go ahead and throw that up on the screen real quick. So how this driver works is I could pretty much adjust everything on the fly. So basically, if I wanted to go ahead and increase my brightness a little bit, it's at 47 right now, I could go ahead and do that. This is obviously brighter than I would ideally want in a video, but if I wanted to go ahead and reset that back to the original setting, I could go ahead and do that, and then it's back to where it was before. And you could do that on the fly while your camera is running in OBS, which is really great for streaming purposes whenever you need to do that on the fly. You can also change things like contrast so that you can make that happen. I've messed with that a couple times during like horror game videos just to make it look more fitting of the mood that the video is. I don't remember what it was at. 60? I think. You can also up the sharpness, which pretty much, it doesn't do much in this mode just because you can't see. But I do tend to put this all the way up when my camera when my camera is always in the corner of my screen like this. But when it's not, this pretty much, it looks grainy like this. That's why I pretty much don't do it. And then I can also use my white balance, which I tend to get away from using auto white balance because of how my lighting is, which I will get to that in a second. I'm going to go ahead and decrease my sharpness back for now. And then saturation, you can mess with that as much as you want. I'm not going to touch it just because it's a little touchy for my purposes. And then you can go back to the general camera, which if I go back to my camera screen, then you can adjust the zoom, things like that. I don't remember what it was at, but I have a pretty good sense of where it needs to be for a video. Okay, and then also, this is actually a really good time to mention this. You'll notice I moved my camera since the last cut. Whenever I'm doing a video that is gaming, then I'll have my camera here like this. But whenever I'm just talking to the camera straight up and being the talking head, then it will be here. So it's more of a straight shot. That's just another tip for you guys that are content creators. You can also change your focus as much as you want, which I like to keep it pretty much where it is, and I don't really use autofocus that much just because how this lighting is and how my background is, it likes to pretty much go in and out as much as it likes to, which is a little annoying, but it's copeable. I don't know if that's a word. Exposure, you can mess with that too. It's all sorts of stuff that you could just change on the fly, and that's pretty much what I like about this webcam. It's so customizable. As far as my lighting goes, I am using, obviously, it's gotten an upgrade from the $20 light ring that I had since the last setup tour. And now I'm using the Relino Videolite VL S192K. And that's what this one is. I have one on the left and right, and that one's also an S192K. So they're definitely an upgrade. They're so customizable with color settings, with brightness, and there's no real set setting that I'll use throughout a video. It's really depending on how the room looks and how the camera's performing, what clothes you're wearing, or I'll pinpoint spots in the room so I can adjust the brightness and all of that with the camera driver as well as the lighting. You have to sync everything up so that it looks good. And there's so many different ways to do that. You can keep the lighting as warm as possible and then adjust the driver to that. But honestly, it's just whatever looks the best for the day, if that makes any sense. Also, earlier, you may be wondering how I switched scenes so easily if you are familiar with OBS. I'm actually using the Elgato Stream Deck Mini, which is definitely the best thing you can get for a streamer. I'm not mainly a streamer, but I cannot tell you how much I use it while I'm recording too. Especially if I'm in a full screen game that I can't put in borderless, then I can hit record and hit stop recording on the fly. I can pause the recording. I can do all sorts of stuff. You can do scene changes, you can do mutes, you can do changing scenes, you can do camera, you can do all sorts of stuff. What I have on there now is I have pretty much resuming, which will put on whatever the current game that I have on the software on, as well as my face cam in the corner of the screen, and then I have this scene that you're seeing right now, which is just the camera. And then I have one that's the right screen and then the left screen, which I don't typically use unless it's an instance like this where I did it earlier with the camera driver that I was showcasing. And then on the next page of that, I have an option to go live, an option to record or stop recording, and then I can use either my output or my input for the current scene that is selected. So it's definitely more convenient than anything. It definitely makes the video look a lot more smooth when you're changing scenes on the fly and you're not going in and manually doing this. Ignore that was my desktop, I was just doing that as an example. But as far as the basics of how my setup goes, everything else is pretty much the same. Keyboard, mouse, that's all the same. I'm a Razer guy. Again, I don't know what everyone's problem with Razer is, because it's working totally fine for me. Especially with the keyboard and all of that. My keyboard, I'll showcase it in the video, why not? So I'm using a Razer Senosa keyboard. I'm also using a Razer Basilisk X Hyperspeed as a mouse. Now the only reason I'm doing this is because the RGB on it is so customizable. Again, you have a driver for it similar how you would to the G-Hub. You have Razer Synapse for that. And what makes it even cooler is I'm using the Wallpaper Engine app, which is on Steam, for my live wallpaper that I have constantly on my screen. So what will happen is I can sync that, but then that app will take control of the driver so that it will sync it with an audio meter or whatever the background is at that point. So that's pretty much how compatible it is. I like how compatible it is, just because definitely one of the things that I would like to focus on while I'm buying computer hardware or software or anything that is related to that is compatibility. I'm one of those people who likes everything to be able to work together and without any complications or further setup needed. And it just sort of works. I get that's not going to happen with everything, obviously, because just for example, the camera driver and the lights don't sync up and all that, which I would like them to, but they don't. Again, it's just setup. If one of the mistakes that I see earlier content creators making all the time is not taking as much time as I think they should to set up. Because I know before I do a video, I do an audio check, I do, what warmth setting I should do for preamp, and I also set up the lighting and see whatever looks best on the final output of the video, as well as syncing my audio through the Discord and through the output, through the game volume, all of that. I don't know if it's traditional to do this, but I actually use 2 different softwares to record. Or at least when I'm a gaming video. I'm only using one now just because it's one topic. But usually I use XSplit Broadcaster and OBS Studio. XSplit would usually be used to capture my face cam and all audio, while OBS would be used to capture my game in 60 FPS without capturing any audio, just so I can separate the face cam, and then I can add the game in the editor just on its own, so it's all synced out. And before a video, most of the time whenever I'm doing that, I will just do it like, okay, 3, 2, 1, as both of the mics are on, and then I'll pretty much sync it to that audio wave, and then it will be synced up, and I'll group the clips, and then I can edit from there. I'm not going to get too into the specifics of editing. But that's pretty much what I'll do for the duration of a video if it needs that. Like, if it's only 2 players, then I'll probably just use OBS for everything. And as for audio, as far as audio things goes, apart from my mic, my headset is an Audio-Technica M30, which is again a very good quality recording grade headset, which the mic and this actually came as a set, which was a really good deal on my part. And yeah, I have no complaints with it at all, just because it works so well together. Again, compatibility is definitely one of the things to focus on when buying computer hardware. I think that covers everything. But guys, if you have any questions, please sure to DM me or comment or let me know in any way possible, and I will be sure to answer you. Also, there is going to be another Q&A coming up for you guys if you guys want it. Apart from that, I think that is going to do it for this video. Again, if you like the content, please do leave a like and subscribe, join my Discord, and follow my socials. All of that is going to be in the description below. And apart from that, I will see you guys in the next video.